how did you even put the window together, for example? I mean, what were you capturing the images on, and how were you manipulating them?
Now with the window, I used the program, an early program called Premiere. I don't know if any of you are familiar with any of these programs, but Premiere, now they've really developed, Adobe has done a lot with that program, but back when I was doing the window, I was able to set up my camera and connect it to the computer, and the computer would trigger when I would take a picture whenever I want. And so that's what I was doing, was recording pictures from the camera going into Premiere, which is a software program that lets you do non-linear editing.
But were you also manipulating the frames and the colors though, as well? After?
Sure.
Yeah.
And that you can do. I mean, that I could do in that program, and all of the programs that I now used. You know, there's manipulation that goes on or can go on at any point. You know, so I can shoot sequences and then play them backwards or upside down, or put something in between. I mean, it's all of the things that the people using expensive equipment, I could do too. And the effects. Well, there are, talking about how the development here for me. The computer has its problems for me. And there is something called rendering time. That is, you know, you tell the computer to do something, you have an idea what you want it to do, you program it to do something, and it takes a while, depending on how complicated it is, whatever you're asking, it takes a while for that to occur. So that means there is time when you are watching whatever you're watching, a bar that keeps moving along, telling you it's going great, or a watch or a clock that goes around. There's a lot of time spent doing that, and so I began to get into a whole different rhythm. And when I worked with the film, I started in the beginning of the day, and I worked right through more or less the whole day. And here it was stop and go, drinking coffee, go, you know, that kind of thing. So that was something to get to, and I still have to deal with that to a great extent, an adjustment. And along with that adjustment is the good and the bad of the computer is I can suggest or tell the computer to do all kinds of things. I don't know what it's going to do until I've seen the final product. So after 2 days, I may not like it. So I spend 2 days to find out I don't like it. Well, that in itself isn't so bad, but the computer can do 50 million times that kind of thing, and I could spend my whole life then just repeating, you know, and saying, oh, that's not good. So there's a certain amount of care I have to take in the way that I work, you know, that I don't just go forever experimenting. There's got to be within me something, I mentioned it the other night with the soul, there's something in you. At some point, there's a connection with what I'm doing, what I see is connecting to me. And then there is just a process of going along.
Does that connection lie, you think, more in, say, the aesthetic realm of it? Because some of your pieces work for me more in your aesthetic manipulations of the light and space there, and others more of like the representation of a reality, of something that was transpiring in, you know, in real space in front of your lens.
I don't know what comes. I don't know what
not
comes.
Not to prioritize them, but
yeah.
What do you find yourself responding to at different times, or does it vary greatly?
Well, if I'm going to analyze myself, and that's not a good idea.
Okay.
It's. I mean, I will, at times, there'll be realistic subject matter that will interest me as I begin to work, and other times it may be color or sound. Sound is a very important thing. And so there is a kind of a play and a balance. I have to, well, I mentioned this the other day, you know, Buddhism is a big part of my life, and I went to Japan to see this Buddhist monk at a monastery, and there were other people there, and I had a chance to talk with him, and I thought I would ask him how many mistakes he's made in his life. So I went because I have great revere for all Buddhist monks. And so I asked him, how many mistakes have you made in your life? And he said, one after another. You know, so at any point when I try to answer, like you asked the question, what aesthetics, what is it aesthetics, or what, you know, in the next minute, after I answer that, I know I made a mistake, you know, and I just keep going. So it's as long as I have the feeling that nobody's going to condemn me when I make a mistake, and that I don't put any great premium on anything. Now that doesn't mean that, you know, I'm not serious about what I'm doing, but you know, if I'm tense and nervous, well, that doesn't help anything that I'm doing. So I stay cool.
Is any questions from any of you?
Yeah, you had some really interesting editorial choices on the audio. Since speaking of the audio, and I think it was 91 Legrand.
Yeah.
I was wondering, a lot of them didn't sync up with the imagery.
Yep.
Now, did you go throughout all of your film and select that by itself, or like reintegrate it with ones related to imagery? Did you like just use it as a pool of data to, like, you know, slip the edits around, move them around?
The 91 Legrand, that's the one that's stop motion, that's time lapse, you might call it. Well, so it will record a moment, a frame or two frames, and then while it's recording the visual, it's also recording the sound. And so the sound that you hear for that basically is that, you know, you hear somebody saying something, but you get it cut off. And it's a kind of a very strange, I mean, not just strange, you know, like from out of this world. It's a very difficult thing to I think anyway, for a lot of people, it's very difficult for people to absorb it or to accept it, because it's not what they normally do here. So initially, the sound that you have there is caused by shooting a frame and not a frame, and you hear this and then it's gone. Okay, when that's done with, I mean, just as with anything that I shoot, I'm going to make a choice in my editing. What do I want to keep and what I not want to keep? With that kind of sound that bumps along, it's not smooth. Just like even with the picture, it didn't go smoothly across it. I thought, I don't want to just I don't want to have this attitude that comes from the past that everything has to be smooth. I want to work with this, and so I left that. And I left the picture going, and I left the sound where it was. But I also went back and recorded sound straight in places, because I wanted to make an emphasis about something. And so that's why you do hear certain sections where the sound is not interrupted or done in that strange way.